So I'll let you lead the charge, introductions and whatnot.
Yep. Let me just double check to make sure that everything is on. All right. Run things Rude Boy. Nabil Aziz, becomingthealphamuslim.com, and the Becoming the Alpha Muslim live stream featuring my man Abuamerican Little. What is up, Abuamerican? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Chilling as always, my man. It's good to be back with you, man. Alhamdulillah, man. I can't complain, man. I'm always good, man. I'm always good, you know?
Yeah. I just been I've been a little bit under the weather, and I had this like fever break today, so I'm like sweating for the past like 3 hours.
Wow.
So yeah. So if I'm perspiring on the live stream, you know exactly why.
Hey man, I'm prepared. See, you got my
little. Yeah, so just for those of you who are watching right now, this is something that, you know, Abuamerican and me are going to try to do every week. We're going to try to make it weekly, every Saturday, I suppose. And it's just going to be me and Abuamerican getting on a live stream and rapping about the goings on. Maybe we'll have a set topic before coming on, or maybe we'll just talk about what's been going on that week. Anything in current affairs that might be relevant. Sort of like, if any of you have seen it, the Red Man Group, which is Rollo Tomasi, Anthony Johnson from 21 Convention, what is his name? Rob Cooper, and Black Label Logic, and a bunch of other guys. So they do that every week.
Yeah.
But that is more for the non-Muslim crowd, even though, you know, Muslims can watch it. So we're trying to do something a little like that, not necessarily exactly the same thing, but, you know,
yeah, indeed,
we'll just add our take on it, or our twist.
Yeah, Donovan Sharp too. Yeah,
Donovan Sharp as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, today's episode, there is this 7 types of women Muslim men shouldn't marry, by Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymeen. It was taken from one of his books. And, you know, something about Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, is that he didn't write books. All he did was teach. And his transcripts are what his students turned into books. He didn't actually write books. His thing was always teaching. So I suppose that, you know, this came through in some sort of lecture. And we've got these 7 that we're just going to go through them. And they seem a little bit esoteric, you know, because they've got Arabic terms and stuff. And we're just going to try to go through them, and then we're just going to put a modern contemporary twist on them, just to contextualize it and, you know, make it so that, you know, we can apply it today. So the title of this live stream is actually Hojabi Tells. And these are the red flags that you would look for when you're looking for a wife. So this applies more to the brothers who are unmarried, and I suppose the brothers who are already married and looking for wife number 2, 3, or 4. What do you think about that, Craig?
Nah, absolutely, man. I mean, completely. Very, very important things to look for. The Sheikh really broke it down, and like anything that you can, you know, you can derive a red pill type lens from every last point that he drops. It's like when they say that the ulama, they have like foresight and they see things like way ahead. Man, this is proof of it, you know, because this was written decades ago, you know.
And also I find that you know, maybe it's just the thing about Saudi ulama, but they just in general, their, you know, masculinity is more you know, open and undiluted, right?
Intact,
it's intact, as opposed to like a Western sort of, and I don't want to diss the Western scholars, but they have been coming out with some like weird shit the past 10 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah, I say this all the time, I say that they've changed the religion of Islam from a religion of worship of Allah into a religion of like, how to please women. It's almost like there's a gynocentric takeover of the deen trying to go on, it's just, it probably has something to do with the hadith. If you'll follow the people, the ways of the non-believers, handspan by handspan,
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's like, a lot of people are like, yo, why are you guys all up in this, feminism stuff, talking about masculinity and red pill and, trying to get men to be men and all that stuff. What's the big deal? We have Islam. We don't need any of those things. So the problem is that if it is the case that the religion is the sort of society in which it is interpreted in, and the religion is the interpretation of the scholars who interpret it. When you have a beta male scholar or a blue pill scholar making interpretations of the religion, like the scholars are human too, right? So their own background, their own environment, their own sort of the lens through which they view the world can change the way they interpret the religion, right? Absolutely. And it isn't necessarily so that every single scholar throughout history has been objective. It is through the analysis and the review and the collection of all of the opinions that we get something objective. But an individual scholar himself doesn't necessarily have to be objective, right?
Right. Who wrote it? It's in the book. It's called Aqidat al-Salaf wa Ashab al-Hadith, I believe. I think it was Iyad ibn al-Fudayl was quoted as saying, beware of who you take your religion from, because beware of who you take your knowledge from, because the knowledge is the religion, And so it's like he basically was saying, if I'm quoting him right, that individual can actually add his, like, I guess, if you will, flavor or his twist onto the religion, So that's why he's saying beware of where you take it from. So that absolutely, man, 100% what you're saying right there. Absolutely. Some of these guys, they.
And, not only that, over the past 60 years, we know from the studies that testosterone levels have dropped and, sperm counts have dropped. Like literally the men today are half the men our grandfathers were.
It's scary, isn't it?
If and testosterone has a very, very powerful effect, not just in men, but in women also. But the primary, factor of men feeling and behaving and thinking like men is their levels of testosterone. And you have like a low testosterone, preacher or da'i or scholar making, fatwa and doing interpretations of the religion. Like it's obvious that we're going to get these weird interpretations and, what do you call it? Pedestalizing of women and pandering to women and things like that. In fact, I've tweeted out before that I think it should be like wajib for every Islamic scholar to have their T levels checked and like to post their T levels publicly.
You're probably right. Yeah, man, I agree 100%. When we look at like the masculinity of the men of the past, dude, we're probably lacking in comparison to them. It's amazing because they would ride horses and camels and whatnot, and like we're told by modern day medicine to do things to increase our testosterone, like ride motorcycles and like do a combat sport. Well, that was a way of life for them. To us, it's hobbies,
Yeah.
But for them, that was a way of life, and they're saying like, get these hobbies, fighting, riding, get a fast car, do this and do that. And when we look at all these things they're telling us to do to naturally increase our testosterone, that was their daily life, getting on a horse, riding full speed, never knowing if you're going to have to fight an enemy one day to the next, So yeah, absolutely. Testosterone levels are dropping. And just on a personal note, I don't know what the ruling on it is. I never checked, but I did steroids one time and I took artificial testosterone. And when I was on Sustanon 250, man, my cognitive ability, hand-eye coordination, everything increased and enhanced significantly. It was probably the most productive time of my life, those like 8 months that I've ever had in my like 46 years, dude. It's testosterone it's a heck of a drug, man.
Yeah, for real. All right, man. So let's go through this. We got the brothers. They want to know how can you find a good woman, which is becoming harder and harder these days. Real quick, let me just give Abu Ismail Bigsi a shout out. Muhammad Khan, Assalamu alaikum, and my man Fahad, who's always hitting us up and asking me, when are you guys putting out more content? Dude, we working, man. We working. It's trying to get that more sense. So yeah, we're gonna try to keep producing more content more frequently and stuff like that. So let's see. All right, man. Let's go through them one by one. So this is Do Not Marry 7 Types of Women by Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah. And like the names, like he's labeled them as Arabic names. So I'm just through them. Like the first one is Al-Annana, and that's the woman who whines, moans, and complains and in her head all the time, i.e., complains of a headache or some illness, but in reality, she is not sick. Rather, she is faking. So what do you think about that, man? What's the red pill take on that?
Man, when we look at this and we talk, I got to always refer back to this guy, Rollo Tomasi. He's not Muslim, he's behaviorist. But he talks about when a woman has married a guy, or she's showing interest in a guy that she's really not interested in. And he always says that desire cannot be negotiated. And so when it comes down to the time for intimacy or to be with the woman, she's always like coming up with excuses as to why she can't be intimate, why she's in a bad mood, or why she doesn't want to be around him. So when we look at this is probably like, the scholars like very, very amazing, view of like attraction and whatnot I don't want to try and interpret his words. Let me not say that, but we can say from this that you're probably dealing with a woman who's not dealing with a raw natural attraction to you. Chris Rock said, he says, the reason why your woman's always like tired and complaining is not because, something you did, it's because you weren't her first choice. So, you're probably dealing with something like that from a red pill perspective, and that's the take I would take on that one. It's like you're dealing with a woman who actually doesn't want you, she's not attracted to you. And as we know, attraction can't be negotiated. When you're dealing with a woman who doesn't like you, whatever else, she's gonna come up with every excuse being sick. It's famous. What is it? I got a headache. There's so many cartoons about it, and it's in movies and videos of the past. And she doesn't have a headache. She just doesn't want you.
I mean, you can also think about it from just on face value. Literally, you do have some of these women who they're attention whores, basically. So like they're always looking for ways to get your attention, or they'll attention whoring or being drama queens. Yeah. So it's more of like an incessant need to be the center of attention.
That's very sharp. See, yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, that is a very good point. And I actually missed that. That's a good one. Thanks, bro. That women actually, they desire your time and your attention more than anything else. And if she can, she's going to get it by hook or by crook. Acting sick, that's by crook. So yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So number 2 is al-manana, and then that is the woman who bestows favors, gifts, etc. upon her husband. Then at that time or in the future says, "I did such and such for you, or on your behalf, or because of you."
Yeah, the sugar mama. They talked about those in the hood all the time. They got the older lady that buys the guy the Nikes and whatnot. You just got to come by, and take care of her needs. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be in a marriage like that. Absolutely. We know just from a natural state of women, and we don't mean it in an offensive way, but solipsism, where, a woman actually views herself from the starting point of everything. Women don't really do something for nothing. There's always a string attached to whatever a woman does for you. She's looking for something out of it, and that's not to, attack women. That's their natural state. They need to be like that, just from a biological sense, in the way that Allah has created them, because they have to look after offspring. They have to raise the offspring. And so they have to have a very self-centered point of origin in order to be able to take care of themselves and their offspring accordingly. So when a woman does something for you, don't let there be any question. Oh, she did it because she loves me, this, that, the other. Yeah, she loves you, but she also, she's looking to secure her position with you. Let there be no doubt. Guys are throwing stuff at women nowadays. The thirst is so powerful nowadays that women don't really need to give guys anything. They can sit back and accept anything. So if a woman's bestowing favors upon you, you do have high status with her, but there's a reciprocity expected in return. Absolutely. She's looking for something: affection, your love, your time, exclusivity, whatever the case may be. Absolutely. And then yeah. What did he say? Yeah.
So what about in a situation where you might have, let's say, married to a Muslim woman, and she's religious, practicing whatever, a mu'mina wife, and situation comes up where she gives some sadaqah to the family, or helps the husband out in a situation. Is that could that be from a place of true altruism, or does it always have to be is it always going to be the case where that shit is going to come back and bite you in the ass at some point?
I believe it's always going to come back and bite you in the rear. Or it can. Let me not say that. Of course, there's always the exception. But the vast majority of the time, what's the norm is that it's going to bite you in the rear. Nothing, I think, is less attractive to a woman than a man who can't handle his business. And you're not always going to be on your A game. And this is why you really need to build yourself up and have a big buffer. So when things go bad, you have a buffer and nobody knows. Things are going downhill or things are a bit rocky. You can walk around the world, shoulders up, chest out, not in the Arabic, arrogant kibber way, but you know what I mean. And you can handle your business. But yeah, definitely in terms of your status and your position, there's no way you wouldn't take a hit when we look at the research and study on female behavior from a biological level. Absolutely. You're going to take a hit for it, one way or another. It might not show, because if a woman has a very high level of attraction for you, she's going to give you a pass on a lot of stuff. But if you're dealing with a woman who's got relatively, high level of beauty, and I don't know if it's appropriate to use the term for Muslims, but we'll just call it the sexual marketplace. For Muslims, we'll call it the marriage marketplace. If she has a high marriage marketplace value, the harder your life is going to be with that woman. So the smaller the mess ups, the more prominent they're going to become in her eyes, because she can always say to herself, I could have got, Ahmed from so-and-so, and that guy, he's a boss and a big baller, and I married you because I thought you were the man. She's gonna have that buyer's remorse. Now I gotta bail you out. Ahmed's over there balling out. Yeah, so
that is why, even if unless it is absolutely necessary, you're gonna be basically homeless if something doesn't change there. The wife really shouldn't be working or contributing to the family expenses. As much as possible, you should be paying your own way and making sure that you've got business taken care of, right?
Absolutely.
Number 3, the al-hannana, and that is the woman who yearns or craves for her former husband or children of the former husband.
The alpha widow.
Yeah, that's straight up, right?
That hurts. That's just a painful one, man. Oh gosh. If you're in this situation, my heart goes out to you, brothers. You've been alpha widowed, and that's a tough one, man, right there. Generally, basically what happened is, she had a man that was better than you in her eyes, in her heart, and she's been stuck with you. And ouch, yeah. Everything about it, including the kids that came out, is just a reminder of that man and the good times and how great that guy was. When she's looking at you, she's like, oh gosh. She gets up in the morning, look at this guy next to me. I used to wake up next to Ahmed the baller. Now I'm bailing this guy out.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, yeah, for real, it's rough, right?
Yeah.
How would you even like filter for that? You don't even know. Like, she's not even gonna, like, that shit is not gonna come out when like you're courting, or especially if we do it in like the Islamic way, right? Like,
Yeah,
a lot of the times, like, when in these situations where the brothers and sisters are trying to get married, how do you even figure this stuff out?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is, like you said, when you're following the Islamic guidelines on marriage, it's almost impossible. I had a situation actually like that. It ended up in a divorce, unfortunately. I married a girl out of London. Her first partner, her first, marriage partner and sexual partner, was a guy she stayed with for quite some time. And when we look at like the science in psychology, generally the woman who breaks her virginity with her first partner, she has a very strong attachment to him. This is actually in the Red Man group also. And she has a very idealistic view of this guy, even if it's not based or founded on reality. And
it's
this
the fair one, right?
Yeah. And I met the guy, and he's not really that spectacular, but just something about him stuck in her heart. And she would just moan and complain about this guy all the time. Not always good, but she would just, no, it wasn't even a good way, but she was just obsessed with him. And I was like, she's not over this guy. And yeah. So I didn't really get a chance to like suss this stuff out, because whenever I spoke to her through Wali, how do you bring these topics up? How does this type of information come out? So
yeah, for real. And like, I think the only way is like, if she's been married before, like, then you need to like do a bit of digging and see what her relationship was with the previous husband.
Absolutely.
But then even if she hasn't been married before, a lot of times these girls are they've been messing around before marriage. And how do you know like what she's done before with some guy? And even if she's not, even if she's still a virgin, she might have done a lot of other stuff.
Yep.
With some guy she was with in high school or university or whatever it is, and then she'll have that fixation on him as opposed to you when the two of you get married.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Even when you say doing stuff, just for people not to, to have some husnul done, it doesn't even have to be anything of sexual nature. It could just be like she had like a relationship with the guy that turned into an emotional one. And that like leaves a hole in her if you as a man don't have like some sort of connection with that woman, or you can't create it. Because some guys are just naturally good at like, vibing with women. And she builds up this great big thing inside of her, this edifice of, emotional something with this guy. And, you come along and you marry her, and you can't, meet up to that standard of emotional connection that you have with that guy. She's alpha widowed, even though she didn't have a sexual connection with him. But here's something that I've noticed, while out looking to get married, because to those who don't know, that I have 2 wives, I'm always looking for another one. Is women are not afraid to ask you about your previous relationships. Now, I'm not saying guys are afraid to ask about it, but generally we don't. We're generally not interested. We're interested in you right now, who you are, where things are going to go. We're looking at establish a relationship. We're not looking at past relationships. Women are more diligent on trying to dig up and, investigate past relationships. What went bad? How did it go bad? This, that, the other. And guys really need to take some of these cues that women actually, use, some of these systems, I guess, if you want to, for lack of a better term, and actually implement them themselves. I've actually learned a lot from women when vetting women. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, women are naturals at game.
Yeah, they are. Really are.
All right. Number 4. Can Kairatul Qafa. So this is the woman who has a brand mark on the nape of her neck, i.e., she has a bad reputation or doubts about her.
Mm-hmm.
This is your typical Hojabi.
Yeah. I don't even know if that needs explanation. It's just,
Like, but
yeah.
I mean, like with social media and all, like which woman doesn't have like
Yeah.
like doubts about her reputation? Like a lot of these, like 9% of these girls are on social media. They're on, at least on Twitter. They're on
Yep.
Instagram. Every other post is a selfie of some sort. That,
Yep.
or they're posting pictures of their food. I mean, shit, man. Like, and this is not to sort of excuse us, because we're on social media as well. But from what I like, just from my perspective, social media for me is like strictly business. I don't use it for, you know,
Attention.
personal entertainment.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You made a good point. And this has been said more than once, and I agree with it 100%. What is porn to men is social media to women. So it really is. And when you look at it, it really is, I mean, so now we've got women using porn just like it's nothing, and there's no social convention, no social stigma behind women being porn addicted. They're porn, which is social media. So when you look at a sister and she's all over social media, she's the equivalent of a male porn addict, and maybe she's worst, because what makes her worse is she can do it in the open. She's doing it outright open, whatever else. Can you imagine just riding around on a train or the bus or the underground in London? You're like surfing porn, you got like, slapping video on there or whatever else they do on that stuff. People would look at you like you were nuts. You get arrested, They would like, I don't know what charge would fall under them. I'm quite sure they'd find something. Women are literally doing this regularly with their selfies and all this stuff. They're literally like doing porn in public. That's a massive red flag,
Yeah.
And there are women out there who don't have like a significant social media presence. There are those sisters out there. I've met a few, and it's impressive, because just like porn is addictive to men, and I've had many a brother come to me and say, "Bro, I need to break this. How do I break this?" It's just as equally addictive to women. This is why social media is dominated, especially Thirstagram, is dominated by women. When we look by millennial women, this was on the Red Man Group, the thirst of the the curse of the thirsty beta. You can look it up on YouTube, and they go over the statistics of this and how women dominate social media. And this is because there's no social stigma behind social media and women like there is pornography in men. Oh, bro, good point, man. Good point.
And I mean, like, just like you're in a relationship with this woman, or you're going to get married to this woman, and you're going to this marriage, and like her dopamine receptors are all messed up from the feedback loops that social media has given her. Like, how are you going to compete with that? Not even necessarily compete. How are you gonna keep her attention when she's supposed to be paying attention to you?
You're not. For anybody who doesn't know, the scientific term for what he's talking about, this addiction, when we were talking about social media addiction, it's downregulation receptor transcription. And what happens is, this is why, like, I learned this because I did steroids. You get diminishing returns the longer you use any particular type of drug. And so that's what downregulation receptor is. You have the receptors, and they get downregulated the more you get of something. So the more testosterone you put in your body, the fewer receptors your body produces for testosterone. And it's the same thing with the dopamine kick that women get from social media. So now she's gotten 10,000 likes. I don't know. That's okay. That's maybe an exaggeration, but she's got like 2,000 likes on a picture she posted, some selfie. And then here you come along. Hey, baby, you look beautiful. She's like, yeah, you're one like. Doesn't matter that you live with her and you're right there.
For real.
You'd be like, yeah. So there's no way you can compete with that. And now you are competing in your house for the attention of your wife with other men. if you're not being cooked right there, man, I don't know what the heck is. I don't know what to call it otherwise, man. That's a bad position to be in.
For real. And what would be like the solution to something like that? You got to have like a no phone policy at home, or what is the what do you think? Like, should you be leading in that situation where, okay, I come home from work and my phone is off, and you put in like the phone bucket, and then nobody's on the phone, you're just sitting there together and you're interacting with each other, or you're doing something constructive like reading or something like that.
I mean, for me, this is gonna sound like I'm a dictator in the house, but I'm not, But I generally got like a no selfie rule for my girls. I have two wives, about to marry a third, inshallah, I hope. And I told them basically they all know there's a no selfie rule. You don't get the selfies, you don't get the, guys chasing whatever else. I have access to all their social media. I'm not trying to I don't check it daily or whatever else, but I might take a peek in every once in a while. You just, the reality is, when it comes to social media, women have very, very low impulse control. And no one's going to like what I'm about to say. But men in Islam are the maintainers and protectors of women. And we have to protect them from themselves. Sometimes they are like small children. And if you give small children sugar and candy all day, which they love, they will turn fat, they will lose their teeth, they'll get diabetes. Women are the same thing with social media. There has to be a degree of control. And if she won't give it to you, then she's prioritizing her social media over your marriage. Tell me how that's not, in any way you perceive it and look at it, exceptionally bad and a massive red flag, So she should actually appreciate that fact that you're trying to protect the marriage. Now, if you're being like an anal sphincter about it all, in her social media, and you're beating her over the head all the time, you're not coaching her through everything and what to look out for and why you're doing it, then you're of course going to run into a whole plethora of other problems. But in general, I don't think she should have any resistance towards you having access to her social media and actually dictating, as the man of the house, what happens and what doesn't happen on it. That's just my humble opinion. I'm sure many a sister is going to disagree with me on that one, but hey, that says more about them than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So number 5 is al-haddaka, which is the women who cast her eyes at things, i.e., always looking at something to purchase, then desires it and requires her husband to buy it no matter what.
Yeah. The beta bucks. Yeah, you're the financer, man. You're the beta bucks. You're just the one there, you're what did I call it? I used to use the term back in the days, poverty alleviation program. You're not a husband. You're a PAP. You're a poverty alleviation program. You're there to finance her lifestyle. She's not interested in you. She's more interested in what you can do for her. Like Paula Abdul used to sing, what have you done for me lately? Yeah, that's it's a rough position to be in, if you buy the whole, alpha beta dichotomy, that you're in the beta bucks position, and that's a bad place to be.
I think at this point, especially if you're already married, or you're about to get married, what would be a way to sort of sniff that out? Because obviously this is the Hojabi Tells live stream, right? So how would you sort of sniff that out?
I mean, would you need to sniff it out? She's going to do it herself. Anytime, just walk down and take her into the city and see how she acts. Take her down Oxford Street if you're in London. Watch how she behaves, Oh, let's go in here. Oh, let's go in here. Oh, baby, look at that. I really she's going to be all over everything, not thinking about the actual financial situation of the household. That's a bad sign, because what is her permanence in a relationship? She's the only thing about buy. When things tank, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
He's not meeting his Islamic obligation to care for me. I want out of a relationship. Next, drive you in the poorhouse, man.
Yeah, and then they get mad that no Muslim man is going to marry them because they're divorced.
Yep. Yeah, they do it to
Anyway,
themselves sometimes.
I think another way you could sniff it out is like you just look at which phone she has. If she's got like the latest version of the phone,
Yeah,
like she's probably quite materialistic.
yeah, yeah. That's a good sign. She wants Liboutini, or she talks about Liboutini. What would a Muslim care about Liboutini? You know, I actually, I met sisters. They were on about Liboutinis, man.
What
$2,000
what
pair of
is
shoes. You
oh
know,
the
red bottom.
the purses, right?
Yeah, they make purses and shoes. They make the red bottom shoes. I only knew about this because of that woman. You know, it's really like I was like, what? $2,000 for some shoes? Like, I complain about some $100-something Air Jordans. At least I can do a dunk in those. What are you gonna do in those heels, girl? Golly, get out of here.
Yeah, for real. All right, so number 6 is al-barraqa, which is the woman who spends much of her day enhancing her face and beautifying it to such an extent it will seem like it was manufactured.
Yeah, man. How prevalent is that
That's
today?
like all women, though.
Yeah. It's out of control today, man. It's like so few sisters. I mean, I just can't find too many sisters that don't wear makeup nowadays, like to such a level that like you say, yeah, they look like a doll. They look painted. Yeah, man. That's and what is that for? I mean, when you really think about like lipstick.
It's for
This is
male attention.
yeah, absolutely. Well, this is actually I didn't know this. I learned this from Rollo
Sexual
Tomasi.
signaling, right?
Exactly, it's a sexual signaling. The red signifies fertility and
Yep.
blood flow. Which is a sign of fertility. I mean, Jordan
Yep.
Peterson actually talked about it. Wasn't Rollo Tomasi? It was Jordan Peterson. He was talking about makeup in the workplace. Why it should be banned. And
Yep.
yeah, he's absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. I mean, uh,
And
yeah,
it's real stupid, It's like the extent to which Muslim women have bought into this paradigm is like you think this is why Muslim men are in charge of you, basically,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you can't be left to your own devices to handle things for yourselves. Because if we left you to it, then the religion will be in shambles.
Gosh, it would, yeah, a hot mess. I mean, yeah, look at the West. It's falling apart at the seams. And why? Feminism, they just let it run loose and it's just torn it to shreds. It's a whole different conversation, but just touching off on it very briefly, there is now one historical or contemporary matriarchal society that is great. Not one, unless you go into like entertainment, the Amazonians or something. But otherwise, there's a reason. There's a lesson there.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. But yeah, those over excessive makeup type women, it's really a problem, man. There's no other reason to do it than to seek attention and male attention, of course, and that's always a problem. I mean, can you imagine that being married to a woman who is signaling to other males attractive, her attractiveness and her availability? Because if you're signaling to the opposite sex, what are you doing? You're signaling availability, but you're married. What are you doing? I want you to do the opposite. You're not available,
Mm.
and
And then
I
the
mean,
funniest thing is like at home they're in like sweatpants
yeah,
with like
yeah,
stanky t-shirt, no deodorant
exactly.
on,
She's not done up for
like
you.
hair all messed up.
Yeah, she goes outside, she gets done up. You come home and it's like, yo, what the heck? Is this the girl I married? What happened to the makeup chick with the tight jeans and whatnot and all this stuff? I would be lying. But you know what I'm saying? Some brothers do that. They marry up the tight jean sister. He comes home now, like you said, baggy sweats and like hair all frizzy. And then she goes outside and she's done up. You're like, hey, hold on a second here.
Yeah, for real, right?
Yeah.
All right, last one. Uh, a shadaka, and that's a woman who talks excessively.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Excessive talking women. It's rarely good either, with women.
That's every woman, basically.
Yeah. But you know what? One thing, my experience with women and excessive talk, and unfortunately, I have more experience with women than I'd like to say or admit. No, well, yeah. Let's just say it, leave it at that. That excessive talk, regardless of whether it's innocent or not, it's like they don't always filter what they say, and then so information that should probably remain private becomes public, and then that can lead to a lot of different problems. And usually those problems fall back to you as the man, because women are rarely like taking accountability and responsibility for stuff. And so it's your honor and your dignity as a man that ends up on the line, whether it directly is aimed at her or you, it doesn't matter, because if it's about her and herself, and she lets something slip out and it puts her reputation in question, it puts yours into question also because you're married to her. It's like, bro, I heard your wife does this. Like, subhanAllah, this woman opened her mouth, So yeah, excessive talk. And we know from the hadith that this is just not something that's good in general. So
yeah, exactly. So like let's wrap this up. For the brothers who are still trying to get married, man, it's like it's a minefield out there, man. What do you have any tips for them? Like, what can they do to make sure that they don't end up with a Hojabi?
Let me drop a sales pitch. I am doing a vetting series. I'm working on it very diligently, but it will be behind a paywall. But guys, you just really got to take your time. Don't look at the pretty face and the smile. Back in the days before I was Muslim, they had that song by Boyz II Men. I think it was "That Girl Is Poison." Never trust a big butt and a smile. Yeah, just don't. Do your homework. Right? we understand the hormones are kicking, and you're like, you're in there, you're doing your thing, you're full charge, guys, like you're supposed to be. You're on your mission, you're in the gym, your testosterone's up, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But control it, guys. The deferral of gratification. Take your time, really do your research, really do your homework. Try your best if you are come from an indigenously Muslim family culture. That means if you're like African, Asian, Arab, guys, use family, as a screening and a vetting process. More for guys that are in my position, you're a revert and you don't have anyone to turn to, and a lot of communities, they really look at you like suspiciously. You're more exposed and you're more in the open to fall into these traps of finding these sisters who, are going to lead you to nothing but problems. But just take your time, guys. There's always a way to find information. Don't mess it up for yourself, because if you're in a small community or even a large one, reputation is reputation. When you're looking as a man, you marry, divorce, because you don't have proper vetting processes. People are just going to think you're playing games, So take your time, guys. This is my biggest thing. Sabr jamilin. We know the hadith. Patience beautifies a thing. So have patience, take your time, and do your best to get your research done. Yeah.
I would probably add to that, just to build off of what you mentioned, is that make the woman secondary to your mission. And I know that when you're young, it's most young Muslim men haven't figured that out yet. But I think by the time you're, especially if you're in our circle of self-improvement and things like that, by the time you're, graduated from university, you should have some idea of, where you want to move towards in terms of, your career and things like that. And then, make it so that the woman is a complement to that, to your lifestyle, to your mission, to your goals, as opposed to an objective in and of herself.
Absolutely. That's 100% right there, bro. That's probably one of the biggest points you have, both Islamically and secular, man. Women want to be in the orbit of a high value man, And so when you make yourself that high value man, and don't think just because you're not Idris Elba or some guy on, something Khan, the Bollywood actor, don't think that you're not high value. High value, alpha, all this stuff is subjective. And whether we like it or not, women dictate this. And so if you're on your mission doing your thing, what's she going to do? She's going to be attracted to you because, you're that dominant, go-getting type of guy. And that's what she wants to be a part of, Don't self-deprecate or whatnot. She doesn't like that. She's like, she wants to be with that guy who's like doing things and going places. She wants to be on his arm. So yeah, absolutely, bro, man. You nailed that 100%. I should probably put that first, man.
Got this question. I don't know if this guy Abu Ubaid, I don't know if you're trolling or not, but I'm looking at your question. It says, if you're reading this, I have a young sister that I was thinking about marriage with. She claims to be a virgin, but she says she's into BDSM, dominating, whips, chains, cuffs, and etc. How does a virgin know that she liked this stuff? First of all, Abu Ubaid, what are you doing talking to a non-mahram girl about marriage? Um, is what I would probably ask you. Second of all, there's a lot of Muslims into porn. They might still be virgin, but they might be into pornography. Most of the time, they're being interested in these kinds of things is because they watch pornography, or they have exposure to porn.
I wouldn't say Abu Ubaid is exaggerating or trolling. I know Abu Ubaid. He's like in the position I was talking about. He doesn't come from a Muslim family, so he's
Okay.
on his own, exposed. This is what I say by exposed. It's like you're in a position, you're exposed in front of Allah, because now it's like if you don't have people to turn to, a community or whatnot, who are actually going to help you out, you're exposed. True. Next, Abu Ubaid. Look, what's the number one selling book in the world after the Bible? 50 Shades of Grey. Literally, 50 Shades of Grey in less time has sold almost as many copies as the Bible, dude. I mean, you got to imagine how crazy that is. And what's 50 Shades of Grey about? It's about a high-value, rich, powerful man who sexually dominates a woman. Women, including Muslim women, are reading this stuff. Remember, these romance novels and whatnot, that is probably the second form of porn that women have after social media. So it's not surprising that sisters are probably reading this stuff, watching the movies and whatnot, and then they're themselves are desiring after it. And this material is very well written to the female psychology and reproductive strategy. So let there be no effect. If she's reading it, she's going to be affected by it. So that's probably where it's coming from.
Alan Roger Curry says that whenever he goes into the bookstore and he goes and looks in the erotica section, and that's where all the women are, a lot of the women are hanging out, and then he goes and asks them, why, just out of curiosity, what about this interests you? And it's just like, it's the imagination of it. It's not necessarily the actual explicit act of pornography, the way a man would be interested in, but it's the erotica with the mental stimulation that is what is doing it for them.
Yep. And Abu Ubaid, you also have to remember, and Abu Ubaid, I know you watch my channel. You got to refer back to the 3 video series I did on rape fantasy in women. I mean, this is a very, very prevalent. They said something along the lines of 67% of women have a rape fantasy, to some degree, and that there was another percentage that brought it up to nearly 70-something% of all women have some form of rape fantasy in regards to a man that they desire after, or that they find attractive. So, I mean, this is something from female psychology that we as men, we probably will never fully understand. We can do research, we can study it, but, when we sit there and think about it, we're just gonna be like, dude, what? We're gonna be completely just lost. Okay, we know you like it. The whole mechanics behind it is lost to us, Yeah. So you remember that, man. There's a lot of research out there on it. You can just Google it, women and rape fantasy / psychology, and you will literally find study after study. These are peer-reviewed studies. We're not talking just some kooky guy online, maybe me, if you want to call me kooky, just making up some statistics. We're talking about literal scientific studies that show that a vast majority, over half of the population of women, have rape fantasies. So being dominated, rape fantasies, all this type of stuff, it's all interconnected, man. So don't be surprised, do not, excuse me if I drone on here, bro. But do not make the mistake of making the apotheosis of Muslim women. Apotheosis means making them angelic creatures. Muslims are women, and that makes them sexual beings. If you think after the worship of Allah, the entire human body is designed for reproduction, especially women. And so that's a massive, massive, hormonal genetics type pressure that Allah's put inside of them, man. Don't be surprised, and don't act like they don't have sexual desires and fantasies also. And these are type of things that Muslim men like actually make a lot of mistakes in regards to, in my humble opinion. Is like, not viewing them as sexual beings,
Yeah, and that's another reason why people like Craig and I talk about the stuff that we talk about. It's just that there's a tendency to view Muslim men and Muslim women as like a different species than regular men and regular women. But
Yep.
the reality is that we are biological creatures as much as we are, Muslims. We try to play it like we're sort of holier than thou, and that in my mind is like the ultimate failing of Muslims in general. We try to deny these natural processes and these natural social dynamics and things like that, and it works to our detriment because we're trying to make prescriptions and descriptions and give advice based on this idealized like figment of our imagination as to what a Muslim man and Muslim woman is, rather than dealing with them in the way in dealing with the reality of men and women who happen to be Muslim.
Absolutely.
We're going to do one last question by Abu Ismail, and he asks, why do women self-sabotage a marriage? I've seen women mess up their marriage by following their hypergamy and doing minor cheating, like talking to men online while the husband is away.
Man, you want another hour, bro? Probably a topic.
5 minutes.
Wow. I mean, you're talking about the core and the foundation of hypergamy, self-sabotaging relationships, bro. Where to start on this? Fundamentally, there's something wrong if she's talking to other men online. This goes back to the woman that's seeking attention. We talked about this in social media. She just might be damaged goods. We have a lot of damaged individuals in our time. Women also, even though they don't like to take accountability and responsibility for it. She might be so attention addicted that there's no way that she can do without it now. So, I mean, that alone, you step away, she automatically switches to the phone, puts up a selfie, 10,000 likes. Oh, you're so beautiful. And then she starts like, chatting back and forth with guys. It's just become a part of who she is and what she is. I mean, that's just damaged in my humble opinion. I mean, they cannot do otherwise. It could be that in terms of, like I was saying with that joke that Chris Rock said, the reason why your woman gives you a hard time is not because something you did, but because you weren't her first choice. She might be sabotaging the relationship because she's reevaluated the situation and she's having buyer's remorse. And now she's just giving you a hard time and sabotaging the relationship because she feels like she should be doing better than you. And then again, this goes back into starting to talk to the guys and whatnot that she believes are higher value than you and getting ready to monkey branch, meaning she's going to go from your relationship directly into another one. There's going to be no break in between. So she's setting up her layup right now, and in some women, I've heard this, but I haven't really researched it a lot, that some women feel like they don't deserve happiness. And this goes into a type of like, what do they call it? Sado, whatever they call it.
Sadomasochism.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that they self-punish. It's almost like a type of self-harming when women cut themselves. Like we know self-harming is something that's almost exclusively women. This is a type of emotional self-harming that some women do. They don't feel that they deserve a relationship or a certain individual, and they start sabotaging their relationship. Sometimes it just might be a congruence test, bro, to see how you're going to react. She has doubts about you, subconsciously, and she's testing how you're going to respond to negative inputs from her. She might set it up because when women want to cheat or when they want to like chat to guys, they usually don't get caught. They're pretty slick at this type of stuff, and this is part of like when I was going back with the passwords to social media and all this stuff. If you get that from your woman, let there be no question. If she wants to talk to guys, she's going to find a way to do it around her social media. This is not a way to control her behavior in regards to other men, and this, she should be doing that on herself, although you do need to keep an eye on it. So it could be multiple factors, man. I mean, that's a whole topic on its own that could take over an hour to discuss.
Yeah.
When we go into details. But those are some basic ideas that you can have right there, those three.
Abu Ubaid is asking, so is it a red flag and should I not marry this BDSM chick because of it?
It's almost like asking me a fatwa, bro. Don't marry her, because I don't know anything, any context about the girl in her situation. She's actually a virgin, and she's talking about waiting in the context of a marriage to practice something which, as long as there's no impermissibility to it, I mean, that's technically in our day and age, that's a pretty good sign. I can't say that that's a good sign in general, but in the context of our time, it's not too bad. So it's all contextual, bro. I mean, what is her actual attributes? This is something you're gonna have to look at. Is she talking about like doing this now? Has she done it? Whatever else, But she said she's a virgin. She's talking about it in the context of marriage. You got your lenses, man. You got to try them on. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to do a 1-to-1 with you and get direct, specific information about her, this, that, the other, and yeah, that could take time. That's
Yeah, I would probably suggest that as well. Is like if you can give Abuamerican more context, he could probably help you a bit more with that. But because from the information you've given us right now, it really isn't that much to go on.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just under an hour. I think this was a good first run. We're gonna try to do this again next week, same time, which is 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. London, 8 p.m. Dubai. Those of you who are watching, and Jazakumullah khair for dropping by. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for the questions, and Jazakallah khair, Abuamerican, for
dropping by. For having me, bro. It's always a pleasure.
Mental jewels.
Hope it benefited.
All right. This is Nabil Aziz for becomingthealphamuslim.com and the Becoming the Alpha Muslim podcast, live stream, Facebook, YouTube, yada, yada, yada. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.